Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Whether this is your first webinar with us or your 31st, I am just so glad you're all here. We've got a new topic today with Chandeep Kohli. Is it doctor? Not yet. All right. With Chandeep Kohli, he's going to be talking about making sure that you're supporting your child through a crisis to keep everybody safe. And this is so important. So I'm so glad you're here today to talk with us. A few things before we get started. I wanted to let you know that we're in webinar mode, which means that we cannot see or hear the participants, but we do welcome your questions and comments. So please just put those in the chat box. We do have some questions that came through when people registered. So we have those and we're going to be getting answers to those questions. But again, if you want to leave any comments or question anything, just put that in the chat box. We do record all of our webinars as we are presenting, and then we put them on our YouTube channel. So if you're new here, yes, you are going to get a copy of the slides and you will get a link to that recording in your email later on today. And if you don't, or if you're maybe you haven't pre-registered and you're watching this webinar on our YouTube channel or you're listening on our podcast, we can send those slides to you at any time. Just send an email to contact@CPG Cares and let us know which webinar you're talking about, and we will get those slides sent right over to you. That's contact@cpgcares.net. So again, I'm Michelle Morris, and I'm with Consolidated Planning Group. We are a financial planning firm that focuses on the special needs side of planning for your future. We can hook you up with an attorney, a CPA, a great support team, but we help with the financial side of things. We also help families understand the state and federal benefits that they need to apply for and when and how that works. We help people with local resources, no matter where you are in the entire United States. We can help. That's right. We are located just outside of Houston, but we can serve families all across the United States. So please feel free to share this webinar or share our information with anyone you know who might value it. We've been doing this for over 30 years. We are members of the Special Needs Planning Academy. We are chartered special needs consultants. We are nationally certified Social Security advisors. But most importantly, what really truly qualifies us is that all of the financial advisors at Consolidated Planning Group are parents to loved ones with needs. So we live this and breathe this and do it every single day. We really want to help families think through what is going to happen in the future and how to prepare starting right away in terms of things like lifetime care and protection plans and transition planning and how the money needs to flow for your loved one, like through ABLE accounts, through the special needs trust, how much money you need to provide for your loved one so that they'll be taken care of after you're gone. That's the future cost of care estimate. And we're here to educate. That always comes out. I always try to say advocate and educate. We are here to educate and advocate for you parents, but I've created a new word, educate. So what I believe is that by doing these webinars and informing the community, we are creating kind of an army of advocates out there. And I love that so much because there are so many people who mean well, but maybe they don't know all the rules and regulations and the criteria for every different program. And maybe your neighbor says to you, oh, well, you should be getting this benefit because you have a child with the same diagnosis as mine. Well, that's not always the case, and they don't always know every nuance of these programs and how they work. So by educating the community, I feel like we're really helping spread the word and get the information out there. And it's kind of rare to find a financial planning firm that focuses on special needs planning. As a matter of fact, there are over 263,000 financial planning firms or financial advisors in the United States. And out of those 243,000, fewer than 200 focus on special needs planning. So you might be frustrated that you can't find answers out there. Well, now you have found an expert. Less than 0.1% of all the financial advisors in the United States understand this, and very few understand it as deeply as we do at Consolidated Planning Group because of our lived experience. So we always want to remind people that now is the right time to start planning. Sometimes people don't want to start. They think it's going to be too much of a pain or too expensive or too worrisome. But really, this helps you sleep better at night and helps give you a sense of accomplishment that you are on your way to your goals, and also a sense of comfort that even if you're not there yet, you're taking positive steps in planning for the future. So we're here to help you with that. Some key pieces of advice. Like I said, the longer runway you have to do the planning, the easier it's going to be and the less stress you're going to have on your family. So think about what is going to happen after high school with your loved one. There are fantastic residential options, educational options, even vocational work programs out there. You don't want them just to graduate from high school and sit on the couch, right? Playing video games or watching movies. So think about what's going to happen next and start looking into those programs early because there could be a wait list, or you certainly want to, tour the opportunities and see if it's a good fit for your loved one. Also, think very, very carefully before you just assume that a sibling is going to be a great successor caregiver. When the time comes, of course, right now, a sibling might say, "Oh, yes, love my little brother. I want to take care of him. I want to help you, mom and dad." But gosh, 10, 20 years from now, when the time comes, that loved one might be kicking themselves for making a promise that they no longer want to keep. And they might feel like it's an obligation to them. Whereas on the other side, the sibling who needs the caregiver, they've got this sister, this best friend, this partner in crime. They've been friends all these years, and now this person is stepping into the role of more of an authority figure. And that can create some tension as well and some feelings of resentment. So just be very, very careful when you think a sibling is going to be the best fit. Okay. We love it when a sibling can be a trustee or a valued friend or, have a different job, but maybe just not caregiver full time. All right. Today, let's get to the topic at hand. And again, we are recording. We will send the slides, and we want you to put any questions in the chat box. So without any further ado, Chandeep, thank you so much for being here with us today. I can't wait to hear different ways that we can keep everybody safe when there is a crisis situation happening.
Hi, thank you, Michelle, and thank you for CPG for creating this platform where, we are reaching out to so many parents and so many families. Thank you for being the 0.1% of financial institutes that help with children with special needs. And thank you everybody for being here. It's a Tuesday afternoon. You've taken time to be here, so I appreciate everybody. Just a little bit background about myself. I have been in the field of special education for the past 20 years. The last 10 years have been with Fort Bend ISD. I was the program manager who managed all the specialized programs at the elementary level. Um, and I felt like I was out of reach from the families. So I wanted to get back in touch with the children and the families, because my role became very administrative. So here I am,
Mm.
I've set up my own business. I launched in January, and I am already touching so many lives and feeling so much better about it.
Good.
So let's start here. I want to let you know that I'm going to start with honesty first. I have a 30-year-old and a 25-year-old daughter, and believe me, parenting is very difficult, right? But parenting a neurodiverse child is just relentless, right? I can't imagine, I cannot put myself in your shoes. And that moment that happens in every family, that crisis moment where everything seems to be okay and suddenly things blow out of proportion, you're overwhelmed, things are being thrown, you have an audience out there, you don't know what to do. In that moment, as
Hmm.
a parent, your heart is racing, you are confused, you don't know what to do, your mind is blank. And the hardest thing is that the expectation is that you keep yourself calm, right? You keep yourself
Hmm.
calm because you are what your child is going to follow. That is the hardest part. Now, and then after that crisis is over, you start thinking, what did I do wrong? How could I have controlled the situation differently? And you're blaming yourself as a parent, right? I want to let you know that this is a moment that is similar in many households. You are doing the best you can. You being here, listening to this and educating yourself shows that you're doing the right thing as a parent. You are not alone. You are not failing your student. I have worked with families over 20 years, and I have seen this in many families. So just know these are moments that many families go through. Now that we've gone through what the hardest part is, here in the contents, I want to tell you what we are going to go through today. Usually, I like to start with the preventive strategies because I think that is, the most important because that helps you not have a crisis. But today, I'm kind of going to put the cart before the horse and start with the crisis and tell you what to do in that moment. And then
Okay.
after that, we are going to see what happens after the crisis because that helps us kind of evaluate and assess what we did and what we could do differently. And then we go to the most important part, according to me, is the preventative strategies, right? What can you do proactively to make your home safer? So I want to start with when emotions escalate in the home, right? Many families experience this. In those moments, parents are wondering, how do I keep everybody safe? What should I do that is right? And how do I manage this? How do I prevent this from happening again? To understand escalation, it is important to understand what is happening in the brain of your child, right? So in a neurotypical brain, our sensory and our frontal lobe knows how to self-regulate, right? For example, I was very nervous coming into this meeting, right? But I could talk myself into this. Okay, it's going to be okay, Chandeep, just breathe. So I had the tools to do that, right? When a neurodiverse child faces a situation that they are overwhelmed, their brain goes into survival mode. So the rest of this brain, that is the thinking brain, the emotional brain, the self-regulating brain, that is all offline. That doesn't work. The only thing your child is thinking about right now is, I'm going to either fight, or I'm going to run, or I'm just going to freeze, right? For you, the child is, and that is this part, this little part of the brain, which is called the amygdala, which holds your fight and flight mode. So when the rest of
Hmm.
the brain stops working, that's the brain that takes over. Think about a lion running after you, and what are you thinking? Only how I can save myself, right? So they are not choosing to behave this way. Their brain is trying to protect them because they're overwhelmed, right? So that understanding that your child is not giving you a hard time, your child is having a hard time in that moment. And how do we work with that child?
And it's so weird how I think, sometimes, like you were saying, you were nervous about doing this webinar. Sometimes I get nervous. I have to make the phone call or I have to call a lot of people to try to drum up business, and my brain, it just sometimes has difficulties realizing that this is not a lion. This is a phone. I should not be that afraid. I should not be
Yes.
afraid of it. But sometimes you just can't help yourself, right?
Right, absolutely. And life has become so busy, Michelle, and
Hmm.
social media and all these extra things that it doesn't take a lion to put us in that position. It just takes the environment nowadays to put us in that fight and flight where we feel like a lion is running after us, right?
Yes.
So many parents, and rightfully so, right? You're trying to say, hey, what's happening, tell me what's happening, and the expectation that the child is going to be able to process your question and answer to what is happening with them is not going to take place because the brain is not listening. They're not listening to your questions and are going to be in a mode to answer them, right? They are in a mode where they are in survival. Their brain is offline. So when you're saying, why are you doing this? You know better. They're not even listening to that. Statements that help are, you are safe. I am here. What can I do to help you? So you are understanding that my child is borrowing my nervous system, right? So how do I keep calm so I can make my child keep calm? So that's the brain. This is the logic that you have to keep in mind, and the practical situation, why your child is not listening and why whatever you're saying in that moment is not working. So now what reasoning is not working, right? So what is your role in the time of a crisis? In the time of a crisis, your role is to keep everybody safe. That's all you're doing at that moment. You're not trying to resolve the situation. You're not trying to think of, I'm going to reason with my child. What are the things that you can do to keep everybody safe? You clear the area. So if you know that your child indulges in property destruction, like picks up things and throws them away, right? That's when you clear all those things. And if your child has the potential to escalate, then I would create my home environment such that I don't keep those things around, right? I don't have anything heavy that is kept around that can be thrown. I put things away. I create a space where my the siblings or everybody else in the room knows that they need to give space. They do not need to crowd the person, and everybody doesn't need to be talking to the person at the same time. Sometimes our children are doing it for attention, and the more you crowd, the more you're giving them what they want, right? And then guide the child to a safer, lower stimulating area. Like you can see in the picture, this is something a parent has put in their house where the child is guided into this area, which is a completely safe area. It is padded. I know everybody will not have this, but you can create a room that is empty, a small area that is empty where you guide your child, right? Right. And all this is, again, I'm going to go to the proactive because you've created this area and you've trained your child to go there. So that's where okay. So now you come to everybody is safe. You talk about de-escalating strategies. How do you de-escalate the situation? First of all, you model for the child staying calm. You breathe, you close your eyes, you say, I am with you, you are okay. What not to say is no yelling, take a breath, don't throw that. Sometimes I was in working with a child and I went in and the para said, look, he's going to hit him. And what do you happen? He hit him, right?
He hit him,
So
of
it's like
course.
you gave the impetus to that child and reminded that child. So when you say, hey, don't pick up that and throw that, what is the child going to do? Pick up that and throw that, right? So I think conversation and verbal communication has to be minimum at that time because they are not listening to you, right? Reduce the noise, keep a calm, low lighting, indulge in offer calming supports, and then we will in the pro I keep going to proactive. In the proactive strategies, we will find out what is calming for our child, right? So we will present them with those calming things, the squeezing pillow, the sensory tools, whatever they need. and less voice, right? Less, when your child is in that mode, visual stimulation is more important than, for example, if you say stop, 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 instead of that, you just show your child a stop sign. That may be more impactful than you verbally saying stop, stop, stop. Okay. So here are the de-escalation strategies that you can use.
There you go.
Did you want to say something, Michelle?
Yeah, well, I was just thinking about, how when you yell when they're yelling, now you're just both yelling and it's not helpful at all. So taking that lower voice approach and slowing down and calming yourself and presenting that calm to the child, it just helps so much, but it's so difficult sometimes.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Two things to remember. Behavior is leads to more behavior. So how you
Mhm.
react to a child will make the child react to you. I know this is difficult, and I know there are many parents who are sitting there and saying, I don't know if I can do that. But this is practice, right? This is practice. I learned to have a poker face in my job because I knew that my buttons could be pushed, but I cannot show my
Mhm.
child that my buttons are being pushed, right? I have to have a very calm demeanor inside. I'm stimulated, right? But outside, I have this calm demeanor. So it is a learned practice. You just have to be mindful and say, okay, next time I'll keep a lower voice, and next time. So now you know and you practice slowly. And ultimately, you will be able to maintain that. So, most situations can be handled at home, but there are some situations where it becomes so risky, where the child is hurting themselves that they can be seriously injured, or they are hurting others, or they have access to some dangerous items or weapons or objects, or it has become an imminent danger for themselves. That is when you reach out to outside help. And I can tell you, reaching out to outside help is not you failing as a parent. It is you being a practical parent and saying, okay, I cannot handle this situation, guys. I am going to call for help, right? So don't hesitate calling for help.
Yeah,
Uh,
that is so true.
okay. So here are some supports that are available to families when you are in that crisis mode. You have the 988 suicide crisis lifeline that you can call. Every county in Texas has a local mental health authority. You can find out about the local mental health authority in your this county and contact them. There is also a Texas Youth Helpline. Now, Texana has a crisis service where you can call them and you say, hey, this situation is out of my control, and they will come to help you, right? I have had parents where they were like, I cannot even wait to make a call to Texana. They have gone to Texas Children's Emergency Room and they have
Um,
helped them down. So sometimes your child needs to be taken out and where they need to be in a different situation. So just know that there are resources out there to help you. You just have to educate yourself on what these resources are.
Now, another resource would be your LIDA, your local intellectual and developmental disability authority. Here in Texas, those waiting lists for the waiver programs are really, really long. And, some families are waiting about 20 years for the class waiver or HCS. However, there is a crisis diversion spot available with those waiver programs. And basically, what happens is if you are in a crisis situation, not in the middle of it, but once it's occurred and you've kind of all returned to safety, you can call your LIDA and they will basically, if your situation is seen as a crisis to them, they'll push you to the front of the waiting line for the HCS waiver. That's called a crisis diversion spot. And basically, they say, if you are in a moment or in a situation where you feel like your loved one either needs to go to a mental health facility or some kind of a state facility or a nursing home, because you just cannot do it anymore. That's what they need to hear, and they'll push you to the front of the line. Now, we did have, Chandeep, we did have a question before today's webinar. Someone was
Mhm.
asking if I have to call the police and they come to the house or whatever, what do
Mhm.
I need? What information do I need to get from them? How do I have them, document this situation? What does that look like?
So the most important thing is when you call 911, you let them know that it's a mental health situation. It is not a crime situation, right? Going back to the being proactive, you can register with the police as having a child with disabilities.
Oh,
Um,
that's a fantastic idea.
Yes, I actually found it. Give me a second. So you call their non-emergency line and you register with them. There is a form you complete, and then you go into, there's something called the CAD. It is the computer aided uh, dispatch, where
Okay.
your address is registered as having somebody with mental issues or disabilities. So when that 911 call goes out, that computer automatically directs it to them knowing that this is a house that has a disability or a mental health situation. So the right people get to you. You also have three things that you can do. There is a take me home registry. Like if you have a child who elopes and runs away from home, you can register with them, and they have they put the safe things in place where they know that you will like give your the description of your child, you'll give all those kind of things ahead of time so they recognize your child. There's also
Hmm.
something called Project Lifesaver. This is again for children who elope. They actually have an ankle bracelet or a system. I think it's something that attaches to your clothes, which is like a GPS system, which
That
is
was
tells them
Project Lifesaver.
lifesaver. Yes,
Okay.
and that helps them locate them. Okay. Then
Oh,
there's
that is fantastic.
also a Yana, which is You Are Not Alone, which is a volunteer telephone reassurance for seniors with disabilities. So that is another program. But the more proactive you are, the more you register with your police system and say, hey, this is my situation. Because my biggest fear, right? My biggest fear is that the police come in and arrest somebody who is having mental health issues or a disability crisis, right? Because they
Right.
take them to the police station, which really worsens the situation. So if you are proactive, register and say, hey, this is a mental health situation. I just don't have another resource. I need somebody with experience working with the children with disabilities. I know that Hope for Three does some trainings with the county police where we train them on, the characteristics and the do's and don'ts with children with autism. So I hope that answered the question about, what to do when we call the cops.
Yeah, that is fantastic. Thank you for all of that great advice.
Okay, so the next thing is what to do after the crisis. Now, after the crisis, usually we are just so happy everything is over that we don't want to even refer to what happened, right? But this is a very important time. Know that your child is not coming out of this crisis thinking that, oh, I got it, I got what I wanted, I just riled up everybody. They come
Mhm.
out feeling embarrassed, feeling confused, feeling that they let you down, let themselves down. What they need most is reassurance. They need, I still love you, you're okay, I am glad that everybody is safe. We will figure out this together on how this doesn't happen again, right? And this is a very crucial time because this is fresh in the child's mind, right? What happened? So then we go to the next strategy is supporting that emotional recovery, right? You don't have to do this immediately. Immediately, you just reassure your child, I love you. You reestablish that rapport with them. But when some time passes, like a day or two, you go back and say, okay, I need to ask you what was going on in your mind, what was going on in your body at that time. Let's make a plan on how we can, what strategies or what interventions, these are big words, but what I'm thinking of, how can I help you in that situation? How can I help you recognize that this is where your brain is going? This is what your body is telling you. Let me, let's think about things that I can either show you or help you do. So that way you are planning for the next step that's happening, right? So together with the child, you're coming up with those strategies. That way he
Yeah,
has buy-in to that
yeah,
recovery.
you might be surprised by their ideas and their answers to these questions that, they do have some really good suggestions sometimes. And of course, it
Yeah.
depends on the age range and
Yeah.
things like that. But um, they're usually pretty good at coming up with ideas.
Yeah, and sometimes we don't recognize what triggered them, no? We have to wait for them to tell us, hey, this is what was done, which really triggered me, and it could be something small like, I don't know, he was on the iPad and you said, iPad time is over, let's go. And then they told you that transition was too quick for me. I need to get time to transition, right? So just simple things. Um, I had this child who threw a tantrum in a classroom because, and when I went into the classroom, the teacher was, I don't know. In fact, a good thing happened where his reading level, he was on a green and he went to a yellow reading level because he went up. And just so happens when I took the child out, he hates the color yellow.
Oh,
That's the
oh,
reason. So in that moment, they can't tell you. They are just, he was overwhelmed. He hated yellow. So later, when you talk about it, you will put strategies in place where yellow no more triggers him, or the child
mhm.
or the teacher accommodates for that yellow. This is just an example how we cannot recognize what's happening with the child, right? We don't know the trigger.
Well, that's so true. And things can be taken out of context or misunderstood so easily.
Yes. Now we come to the preventative strategies, right? The most important part, according to me. So, preventative strategies, we have to recognize. So, what you need to ask your child is, what happened? Were you tired? Did you not get enough sleep? Was the noise overwhelming for you? Were you frustrated with the tasks you were presented? Was it social or emotional stress? And you, as a parent, can look for those patterns, right? You have to think about what happened immediately before this happened, right? And when you see those, and then some kids have physical triggers, right? They show you not physical triggers, but physical symptoms that they are going to get into a meltdown. They may be rocking, they may be pacing, they may be talking loudly. So know that something is coming, and that's when you jump in before that situation gets out of control to say, okay, hey, I think you need, let's do something else. Let's do the breathing. Let's do whatever. But you, as a parent, recognize that pattern for them. How do you help your child with emotional strategies, right? In the moment, the child is not going to recognize, hey, I'm at a level 5, I need to go down to a level 1, right? So you teach them ahead of time. I love the 5-point scale because that tells you this is how I feel, and this is what happens to my body when I'm in a level 1, compared to this is how I feel when I'm at a level 5, and this is what's happening to my body. And then you sit with your child and say, hey, when you are at a level 5, these are your options to come down to level 4. You can do this, 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 and this. One thing
Mhm.
I've noticed is children find it difficult to see triggers that happen in their brain, right? They cannot recognize that, but they can recognize what their body is telling them. And usually it is a thought that gives rise to the churning in the stomach, or the feeling tight, or the feeling like you're going to blow up. I can feel anxiety. I know what anxiety feels in my body, right? So when my stomach tightens up, I know I am feeling anxious, right? So help
Mhm.
them recognize those physical signs, because those are easier to recognize than your thoughts that are happening in your brain, right? And then you tell them, you pair them with, so this is not, these are now preventative. So this is what you're going to do when the child is calm, not in the moment. All you can
Mhm.
do is in that moment, if you have that 5 point scale ready, you show the child the 5 point scale. Hey, here is where you are, and this is what you can do, if you have it ready ahead of time. Some children need a break, but they don't know how to ask for a break, right? When things get overwhelming. So, teaching them that they can appropriately ask for a break. I worked with a child who had um, issues with task avoidance. So, he just wanted to get out of work. And how he chose to get out of work is going to the restroom. So, I had to
Mhm. That's
teach him.
very common, yes.
Yes. So I had to teach him how to ask for a break appropriately. But in order to do that, I had to honor every time he asked for a break. The first day, I gave him a break 52 times because he asked
Mm.
appropriately. But then when the child knows that, hey, I ask for a break and get it, this is the right way to ask for a break, rather than me, throwing a tantrum, or, melting down. And when the child trusts me that I ask for a break and get it, the number of breaks that they ask for start reducing, because they feel calm. They feel, oh, all I need to do is give her the break card or ask her for the break and I get it. So this is teaching ahead of time. Then your calm down routine. This is something which you and me may know automatically, right? You and me know how to talk to our brains. We know that we need to take a deep breath and back off, but our children may not automatically know this. This is called emotional regulation strategies, right? How to regulate your emotion system. Practice this with your child beforehand. Tell them, hey, let's do these things and let's see which one makes you feel better, okay? And
Yeah.
that goes down in the repertoire of their calming strategies. And when they are in the moment, you present them with that calming strategy, okay? And you can model it for them. So say deep breathing is something that they do. So while that is going on, I know it's very difficult, but you say, you know what, John, I am taking deep breaths. I just want you to do this with me, instead of saying stop, 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 right? So this is all teaching beforehand. Then some children get issues with the, like I was talking about, the transition, right? Giving out the
Mhm.
iPad. So the first then strategy, where it is very clear to the child what they are supposed to do before they get that iPad. And no iPad or no leisure activity should be time unlimited, right? Everything should have a limited, and then that transition of our brain, like you and I, Michelle, we may be able to, move from one um, task to another very easily, right? But for a child who is on the spectrum or has disabilities, their brain needs a lot of processing time to move from one thing to the other. So it's called prepping the brain. You prep the brain. Hey, your transition is coming up in 5 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes, and I'm going to take this away. And then as time gets closer, you say, okay, 2 minutes more, 1 minute more, etc. And then you slowly retrieve it, right? And initially the child is going to have issues giving it back to you, right? But you say, okay, 1 minute more, I'm going to give you 1 minute more. And then finally, and if you have a lot of issues, I would do an exchange system where I would take a less preferred activity. For example, if iPad is the most preferred and chips is the next preferred, I would give the child the chip and take away the iPad. Chips they eat and they get over. That's not going to be forever, right? So ultimately, you will get that out of your child.
And how do you feel about, sometimes I've heard people do like a physical activity as part of that transition. Hey, we finished our homework. We're going to transition to the iPad. It's time to give give up the iPad, let's take a walk around or do some jumping jacks and then get into the next thing. Do you think that a physical activity is helpful in switching the brain from, iPad time to whatever comes next?
Absolutely. So movement is key, right? Movement helps us, helps the body, helps the brain. I would say it shouldn't be sudden because the child is not going to accept it, right? Because he is
Okay.
used to going from here to the iPad. So it is going to be a training process where you tell the child or show the child, okay, first you're going to do your homework, then we move, then we get the iPad. So you're training the brain even for that transition. But that's a
Okay.
great idea to do a movement break between non-preferred and preferred activity. The next is your child offer choices. This is so powerful, offering choices, because your child feels like he is in control, he or she is in control, right? They have a choice. There are two things that you want them to do, but they get to choose what they want to do, right? So that is very powerful. So you're giving them that control. Early intervention, again, I spoke about the signs of the coming up of her, what I looked at
Kind
the
of
time and
the
now I'm
warning
trying to,
signs, huh?
yes, I looked at the time and I'm like, I better hurry up. So now I'm
Oh
trying to
no,
using my
you're
words.
fine. Don't worry about it.
So look for those signs where you know if your child is pacing, whining, tone changes, something is coming up, and you prompt that break or you prompt that reducing of demands before the child reaches a 10. Okay?
Perfect.
There you go, movement and
Oh,
strength.
there's the
See,
movement.
there you
Yay.
go. Yes, sensory strategies. So, a lot of our children have sensory issues. And one way to explain that clearly is like we get sensory input from five places, right? Our eyes, our nose, our ears, our skin. And our brain is equipped to kind of harmonize all those senses. In a neurodiverse child, that harmony is not taking place, right? Either the sensory issues that coming out of the from the vision is too stimulating for them and their brain cannot manage to control it. That's what sensory issues means. And you should know your sensory, you should be try to get knowledgeable about the sensory issues of your child, what works and what doesn't work. OTs, if your child goes to school, the occupational therapists are a great resource to know what sensory tools you can use for your child, right? So it could be visual, it could be vestibular, it could be movement, it could be carrying something heavy because they are jumping up and down, it could be a weighted blanket, and have those ready when your child is getting into crisis, right? So you just place it on them, give them the weighted blanket because you know that helps them. Visual supports are very, very important. I say this very, very often that children with autism on the spectrum are not auditorily processing. They are big visual processors, right? They do not think in words, they think in pictures. Like I said, saying stop, 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 giving a stop sign is very more impactful. If your child needs a routine, a morning routine, a evening routine, to go step by step and say, I come home from school, I do this, 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 this. This helps in that predictability. What is my day going to look like? So they don't come home thinking, I don't know what's going to happen today. And suddenly my mom is going to tell me do homework. And then suddenly she's going to say, today we are going here and today we are going there. So you prepare your child, you prep your child for what's coming up. And this is one thing I've gone into homes and helped people put these things in place. So the environment is conducive to lesser meltdowns, right? So these are some of the emotional regulating strategies, and these are the proactive strategies that you can put in place. Prevention starts with that environment. Now you go back to that picture I showed you about that empty room with that, that little jumpy place with pads. I also have a house that I visit where the walls are padded just because of the child's behaviors can be severe. So if your child indulges in head banging or something, they kind of pad the walls. They have a door, but the door is half a door. So it's not that you've closed the door and you don't know what you're doing, what your child is doing there. You are saving yourself because the child may be injuring you. The child is in a safe environment, but you can see the child, right? And you put that child in that environment. Low stimulation, minimal furniture. Again, anything breakable goes away. Easy access to the calming tools. Again, all this is making the environment suitable. Predictable routines, visual. I'm going to harp on this again and again because I used to teach in a ABC classroom, which is one of the toughest classroom in Fort Bend ISD. And of course, when I entered, it was chaos. And I'm not talking big about myself, but it was true because the once I got their schedules down and they knew that they move from one place to the other, when they move, how they move, within a few months, somebody entered my classroom and said, I cannot believe this is an ABC classroom, right? That the upfront work is very difficult, right? To put that
Yes.
schedule, to be consistent, to do it every day is very, very difficult. And parents have a lot on their plate and they miss one day here, one day there. That's fine. But try to be consistent. You will see the results in the end. This, I think, is a very important thing is having a family plan ahead of
Yes.
time. Okay, who plays what role? Have a certain word, which is a word that shows if I say this word, that means things are getting out of control and everybody needs to go to the safety plan, right? This could be the word reset. It could be the word, I don't know, safety. I don't know, but a
Yeah,
word
it could
that
be anything. Just say it's time for our
flower.
safety plan.
Yes, yes. So that is where everybody stops and starts following the safety plan. The situation is escalating. What does this show you? I have a safe place. That's where I'm taking my child. The roles of the family are clear. The child, you're also training your child on that safety plan. Hey, when this happens, you are going to ask for a break or you are going to go to the calming area. Parent one stays with the child, uses minimal voice, guides the safe space. Parent two moves the siblings, clears the area, reduces the noise. Siblings, if they can't help, they go to a safe place. So, this is a written plan that is black and white that tells again, I'm saying nothing can be black and white because things change according to times. But at least you have a tentative plan where everybody knows their role and they're not scrambling. Oh, are you helping him or am I helping him or who's calling 911 or who's calling whatever? And I have put these plans for people in place, the safety plans with the family members, because not everybody has two parents, not everybody has siblings in the house. So, an action plan ahead of time, a safety plan, I think is the most important thing when you know your child has the potential of having a physical meltdown.
It's
So,
so important to, practice this. Do drills, just like you would do a fire drill or something like that with your children to let them know, if this happens, this is what we're going to do. And that practice is going to again help with the unpredictability that, our children hate.
yes, yes. And that, I mean, actually, that was it. And the key points here are, guys, behavior is communication. Your child is trying to tell you that he or she is overwhelmed. They cannot handle the situation right now. They are too difficult. Know that your child is not giving you a tough time. I'm saying this again. They are having a tough time themselves, right? When you are in a crisis, Safety is the first thing. That is not a time where you say consequences. Oh, you're doing this. You're not going to get your iPad. That's not the time. The time during a crisis is just safety. Connection comes before correction, which means after the crisis, you're not reprimanding the child and saying, you did this, now you're going to get this, or you're not going to get this. That is the time to build a relationship with the child, right? Prevention, like I love, is the most powerful tool to be proactive and ahead of time. And a plan creates confidence that you have a plan, everybody has a designated role, everybody knows what to do, you have a safety word, and you feel much better. It takes out that anxiety within you as a parent of, oh my God, this may happen right now. And a lot of time parents are walking on eggshells hoping that that meltdown doesn't happen, right? Then you don't need to walk on eggshells because you have a plan in place. So that was my short discussion about crisis, what to do before, during, and after. And I would love to
Thank you.
answer any questions that you have.
Yes, I just have a couple of more slides. So if everybody can put any remaining questions in the chat box that they might have. We also have those questions that were sent over earlier. If we haven't gotten to any of those, we'll get to those at the end here. But thank you so much. This has been just so eye-opening and lovely. And that last thing you were saying, it reflects what I was saying about plan now for the future. It's a little bit difficult. It's a little bit, nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants a safety plan for Christmas or a financial plan either. But it's so important to have these things in place ahead of time and to really think things through and have that peace of mind of knowing that you are setting yourself up for success. So, all of Chandeep's contact information is here. She does have a free consultation. Can you tell us a little bit about what your free consultation looks like, Chandeep?
Yeah, so it's about a 30 to 45-minute call, Michelle, where I will send you a link and we meet and you tell me something about your situation and I kind of devise a plan. It's basically, before we go into any kind of commitment, we see that we are a good fit for each other, right? So you see whether I can help you, and I see, okay, this is a case that I can get on. And usually, a lot of parents, solve a lot of issues in that 30 to 45 minutes because they get those pointers. And
Mhm.
that gives them a chance to know whether they want to indulge with, take on my business or not. Michelle, I had another thing I wanted to tell parents. Sorry, you spoke about
Good.
Christmas plan, right? So
Mhm.
having a plan for different days is very important. So, for example, when there are family gatherings, when you're going, Thanksgiving, Christmas, however you'll celebrate 4th of July, having a plan for when things are different than in your house is very important also. Very.
Yes, yes. And those times can be, I mean, that's stressful for us as parents as well, making sure trying to make the holiday perfect for everybody and all of that and spending money and keeping the house clean for guests. It's a lot for us to deal with. And if we're
Yes.
stressing out about those things and then our child is stressing out on top of that, that can create just a disaster. So
Yeah. I
planning
also
ahead.
wanted to encourage people to go ahead and, click on that consult link and just chat with me. And, sometimes you just need help to walk through things, and I'm here to help you guys. Thank you.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, that's actually what we do too. So that's a perfect segue to, we do these webinars to, as I mentioned, try to build the community and build our warriors of information, right? So we provide these webinars 2 or 3 times a week with different helpful topics. I know that this one has been fantastically helpful, even for me. I'm really looking forward to putting some of your tools and de-escalation techniques into place. But we really focus on the financial side of things, helping families think about how they're going to pay for their loved one's care, how they're going to get all those benefits and keep them, and what you need to think about for the future. You can use this link here to sign up for our upcoming webinars. If you do pre-register, that's when you're going to get the email that has the slides and the link to the recording. You can also send in questions ahead of time. You can add the link to your calendar so you don't have to go searching for it at the last minute. That's always helpful. Um, our free consultation, it's on Zoom. It's usually about 30 to 45 minutes. We do ask every family to fill out a short questionnaire ahead of time so that we can look for areas to give you some helpful tips and advice. And just like you were talking about, sometimes parents just have one or two questions and they're able to get those questions solved by talking to us. And other times we are able to build a relationship and work together on a solid plan for going forward for their financial future. Um, so please set up a consultation with us, set up a consultation with Chandeep. These are going to be two extremely useful and helpful uh, half hours to 45 minutes of your time when you meet with us. We can answer any questions that you have, help you think through your personal situation, and give you some very useful advice on what you need to do next. You can use the QR code. You can call or email our office, or you can call or email me directly. I've put my information in the chat box. Of course, this slide also has our links to our YouTube channel, Facebook, our podcast, Instagram, all of those things where you can follow us and learn more about Consolidated Planning Group. I don't see any other questions in the chat box, and the questions that were sent in are mostly covered throughout your talk. I mean, I do think the first question we received was, are these strategies also helpful for adults? I think definitely. I think these strategies would help anyone at any age deal with stress.
Michelle, with
Um,
adults, I think treating them, with dignity, and even with kids, right? Treating kids with dignity, and that becomes really important.
yes, yes, absolutely. All of that is so important. And remembering that, even as children, they want a choice, just like adults, just like you and I. We want a choice, we want options, we want autonomy and that pride of doing what we want to do, even if we have to allow our children to make a small, safe mistake. We have to give them choices sometimes. And what better way to teach them how to deal with those things than when we're right there with them? Well, again, thank you so much, Chandeep, for today's talk. And thank you, everyone who was
Absolutely.
here. I really appreciate you all, and I appreciate this community that we're building. So thank you all very much for that. Have a great day. And if you need either of us, we're here for you. All right. Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
guys. Thank you to CPG for hosting this. I appreciate you.
You are so welcome. Have a great afternoon.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Bye bye.